This information is not intended as legal, health, or nutritional advice. It is provided for informational purposes only. The Natural Health Product Protection Association does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements, views, or opinions presented by guests or attendees. Help us help you. If NHPPA's work to protect your natural health product and practice freedom is important to you, please make a one-time or monthly donation. Significant funding is needed over the next year to finance our campaigns.
My name is Teresa, and I really need to do my hair. It's been a while since I've done my hair. I don't think I've actually brushed my hair.
So he's gonna just straighten it.
I think I've actually, oh, okay, so this is, so how do we know when that starts? Like, when do I tell Sean to start talking?
You're gonna have to talk with David, right?
On my cell phone? Okay,
Or
So-
he'll send you a text,
okay,
because this is at the beginning of the day, that's all this is for. This isn't before your live stream.
okay.
So this is what it'll go into.
This is the morning,
This is the beginning of the day, and right after this, it'll be going to Sean.
but we don't have to do all of this for just Sean.
No, you'll do the road for Sean.
Okay, so we'll just go through that.
So David, I'm on the video, are you cutting to us?
You're already live. You've been live for a few minutes.
So
Am I,
I'll
but
just
can you,
time.
so,
There's always going to be a delay.
so how do I know to tell him to start talking?
You'll be on a phone call like this with me, and I'll give you a countdown,
Okay.
and you're going to relay that.
So am I now, can I now talk about my hair?
So,
Can you see me in the video?
yes, you can talk.
Oh, yeah, I think Sean actually doesn't want that disclaimer. We'll have to ask him. That was something that was kind of left over. Well, maybe we'll just leave it on. Oh, yeah, because you're talking about making a donation.
But we can't see, we can't see the house or anything. Have you got us?
I've got you on my screen here. I've pulled up. It's there. I think it's just the signal's really bad.
Yeah, it might be if you step outside, you might be able to see it.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Teresa. My name is Teresa Buckley, and I'd like to talk to you about my hair. My hair is very gray. I have roots, and I would love to talk to you about the Natural Health Product Protection Association. How many here in this audience have birds? I do. Now, how many have birds that are 17 years old? I do. How many here have little birds that are 17 years old that are named after a food, a healthy food, a natural health food? I thought it. I thought I would be the only one that would have a bird 17 years old named after a product that is natural. And by the way, her name is Butter. Now, I'd love to take that phone call right now, but that's a real estate appointment. So I think I'm just going to ignore that one for now. Can you see me?
Yeah. So, he said because your house is shielded, it's compressing the video,
Okay.
right? But he said if it's not, so is Jason seeing it okay?
Yeah, Jason, I've been talking. I assume so.
So he can, so Jason can see it.
Yeah. Did you see how it's?
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's because of what we're doing here. Yeah.
So that won't be an issue when we're live. And if we're ever in a spot where this like sort of thing is replicated, where this is happening, we're just going to record it.
Yeah, then we'll have to
Send
record.
this out.
Right. Yeah. We can always just do whatever.
Yeah.
It
Then
doesn't
we
have to
record it,
be,
then we'll put it up.
it doesn't have to be, if it doesn't work, it doesn't have to be live.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're having this kind of problem.
So I say, well, thank you so I say something like, thank you very much for listening to me talking about my bird. And for more information, go to bird.org. That's BIRD.org. Thank you.
So I want to explain at the very beginning of the charter, when you read it, there's these, whereas this, whereas that, and a list of whereases. That's a real common thing to do in legislation, and it's really just the way of introducing, well, why is this act being introduced? Why do we need this act? So simple things like Canadians are competent to make their own health decisions is one of the whereases, which introduces why we're codifying the right to make our own health decisions. So when you read the first part of the charter and you're going, well, this doesn't actually read like a law, understand that what this is doing is basically setting the stage for why we need what follows. Welcome to the world's greatest health show. My name is Sean Buckley with the Natural Health Product Protection Association, and I'm very glad to have Dr. Megda have us back for a second presentation, but on a different topic. And show.
Thank you, Sean. Pleasure being here.
And just to introduce you to those people that didn't see your presentation on electromagnetic radiation, is you are a professor emeritus at Trent University, and your expertise is in environmental toxicology. And I'll ask if you can just explain briefly what that is.
Well, environmental toxicology is looking at the harmful effects of different substances in the environment, including chemicals, noise, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic pollution, that sort of thing.
And my understanding is back in the early 70s, when scientists started looking into acid rain, you were one of the early scientists looking into that, and you basically went into the Arctic and where we've got these sulfur vents, and you would measure the acidity and then compare that to our lakes, and that data was really helpful in helping us move to where we got clean air legislation.
That's right. We were showing that a lot of the lakes in this part of the country, the eastern Canada, eastern United States, were adversely affected by acid rain, as were the forests as well. Trees were dying. And fortunately, we had clean air legislation that came in the 1990s, and the lakes began to recover, which was very positive from our perspective.
Yeah, no, you gotta feel good when you've participated in positive change. And after that, you kind of felt, well, here I'm an environmental toxicologist. What's out there that's dangerous that now we need to start focusing on and doing better? And do you want to kind of share how you ended up, arriving at looking at EMF and dirty electricity?
Well, after the acid rain legislation came in, I was really lost for a period of time because I realized there's little additional research that would make a difference legislatively. And so I began to look at other pollutants that I could study. And I was teaching a course at the time called Pollution Ecology. And I was reading about children who developed leukemia, increased risk of leukemia, who lived near power lines. And so I started to look at that literature.
Psychic visions.
Forms that are better for particular disorders.